Welcome to Elevate 2025. Now let's kick things off with Appeon CEO Armin Mazda.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Elevate 2025. It's truly wonderful to see all of you here joining us from all around the world. Longtime PowerBuilder developers, new members of our community, and those revisiting PowerBuilder after years away. Whether you've been with us since the Sybase days or you're just discovering what PowerBuilder can do, thank you for being here today. This event exists because of your passion and your trust in us to move PowerBuilder forward to meet your project needs. This year's Elevate is a 2-day virtual conference. You will have the opportunity to interact live with Appeon staff and our knowledgeable presenters through both text chat during the sessions as well as live Q&A Zoom sessions afterwards. Our agenda for the first day is as follows. After my opening remarks, we will turn it over to Julie, who is the Appeon product manager. She will lay out the product roadmap for both PowerBuilder and PowerServer. Then we will turn it over to Chris, who is our Director of Developer Relations. He's going to demo some of the new features and enhancements in the upcoming version of PowerBuilder and PowerServer, which is currently available as a beta. After that, we will break out into various sessions which you can participate in depending on your interest and your availability today. We will have a live Zoom session for you to discuss the product roadmap with Appeon staff, where you'll have the opportunity to participate as the audience. And there will also be several tech sessions throughout the afternoon as well as tomorrow. Some of these sessions will focus on helping you leverage the new features in PowerBuilder and PowerServer, while other sessions will focus on helping you utilize technologies outside of PowerBuilder to enhance your development process and your app features. This year's Elevate marks a very special moment for Appeon, and I hope for all PowerBuilder developers. With PowerBuilder 2025, we've reached a pivotal point in revamping the developer experience. For many years, PowerBuilder has been known for building data-driven business applications quickly and reliably. The data window has and continues to be of great value. But as the IT landscape has evolved over time, we have felt it is important to revamp the IDE, introduce an ultra-fast compiler, and offer you the choice to save your source code in plain text format, which we call the solution format. When you try navigating coding and debugging with the revamped IDE, you will notice that every task you do can be accomplished noticeably faster now. For example, you can jump to an object, functions, variables, and class names at the click of a button. The auto script is context aware now and can script many more scenarios for you. And the debugger supports one-click breakpoints, so you can easily toggle breakpoints to test and trace code execution. The ultra-fast compiler is a revolutionary leap in build performance for both full and incremental builds. For many apps, we're seeing 10 times faster builds, and the larger your app is, the more time savings you will notice. We utilize an abstract syntax tree to accurately track incremental changes and deliver lightning-fast incremental builds, oftentimes in just seconds. The new solution format removes the key stumbling block for PowerBuilder that prevented it from truly being native in a DevOps environment. By replacing the proprietary and binary PBL format with just plain text source files, now Git and SVN can properly track and merge changes. Source control operations will execute faster, and you can now fully leverage third-party CI/CD utilities. At Appeon, we're following a customer-driven approach to not just defining the roadmap, but also during development. This becomes apparent in our revision releases like R2 and R3. If you compare the original 2025 release to the R2 beta, you will see real-life customer feedback incorporated in the product, whether it is some of the new features we have added or enhancing existing features, as well as improving the documentation. For decades, organizations have built their most critical systems with PowerBuilder, systems that still run their businesses today. Since PowerBuilder has been widely used over decades, you can imagine there's tons and tons of code assets out there in the real world. Oftentimes, it is not commercially feasible to throw away that much code assets. So our design philosophy has been evolving PowerBuilder so it can be utilized to modernize all those code assets in a practical, low-risk, cost-effective way. So let's speak in tangible terms. What does this all mean? Well, for example, when we revamped the PowerBuilder IDE, we revamped the developer experience. We faithfully preserve data windows, PowerScript, and even the IDE that's been revamped should still look familiar and be actually more intuitive to use than before. Or as another example, when you're upgrading your client-server projects to a newer version of PowerBuilder, usually you can import 100% of your existing code and reuse it. If you are transitioning to the cloud, you can use the new PowerServer project type, which can import anywhere from 90 to 99% of existing code. Our approach to modernizing your app UI has largely been codeless. Simply by turning on configuration options, existing menus can display as ribbon bars. If you have MDI windows, they can be managed in a tab format now. And your entire app UI can be reskinned with style sheets, which you can customize. Whenever we introduce new objects or functions, we do our best to make it handle real-world use cases with minimal coding. So, to summarize, our product roadmap and how we implement the features in the product is really guided by two principles: protect your investments and extend your capabilities. Together, they represent Appeon's vision, a continuous, practical path to modernization for every PowerBuilder project. We are committed to continuously evolving PowerBuilder to serve your long-term application development needs while protecting your existing investments. Since we took over PowerBuilder in 2016, it has taken us some time to evolve each aspect of PowerBuilder, but I think if you take a look at PowerBuilder 2025 R2, you will see that we have upheld our commitment to evolve the IDE, client-server projects, cloud projects with PowerServer, as well as the .NET Data Store. And the IT landscape is continuously evolving, so we commit to continuing to evolve each aspect of PowerBuilder for the long term. So what's next after PowerBuilder 2025 R2? Well, I don't want to steal the thunder from Julie, but also I want to give a higher level view than what Julie may give you so that you know where we're heading after release all the features Julie will be outlining today. In other words, the future roadmaps we announce will be consistent with these priorities I'm laying out today, namely continuously improving developer productivity, strengthening the security of your apps, ensuring your apps continue to be compatible with changes in software and hardware, enabling open integration with other apps and systems, and last but not least, ensuring your apps continue to be compatible with changes in software, hardware, and data formats. These priorities were set after carefully understanding what customers value the most for their PowerBuilder projects. And because we are customer-driven, our priorities could change over time if we hear from customers that their priorities have changed. I want to pause a moment and say thank you to every developer who has championed for PowerBuilder over the years. to every partner who's helped our customers modernize their apps practically, cost-effectively, and to every Appeon MVP who volunteers their time to educate the community, and last but not least, to all the great presenters we have here today and tomorrow at Elevate 2025. And now, to walk you through the details of what's next for PowerBuilder and PowerServer, please join me in welcoming Julie, who will walk you through the exciting roadmap we have planned. Thank you, and welcome once again to Elevate 2025.
Next, we turn to Julie, the product manager at Appeon. Julie will present how Appeon will continue improving PowerBuilder and PowerServer. These improvements will focus on developer productivity, security, compatibility, and interoperability.
Hi everyone, welcome and thank you for your continued enthusiasm about our product roadmap. I want to highlight that your feedback has shaped PowerBuilder 2025 and the roadmap I will be presenting today. Now I'm pleased to outline how we'll continue to move PowerBuilder forward. We want to be transparent. Today's roadmap is not set in stone. Features, timing, and scope may change or shift as technology evolves and priorities change. We'll keep you informed, and any adjustments will be made to deliver the best value for our customers. Upcoming product releases. Here's a quick preview of our upcoming releases. Early this year, version 2025 released. We started with a major revamp of the IDE, an ultra-fast compiler for rapid builds, a new solution format for more seamless DevOps, and a modern code editor for much better development productivity. 2026, version 2025 R2. Following 2025 GA, the focus of version 2025 R2 will be to strengthen the core features introduced in 2025, with priority given to further enhancements to development productivity. This version is scheduled to release in the first half of 2026. 2027, version 2025 R3, LTS. R3 is slated to be our long-term support version, which will receive a minimum of 5 years mainstream maintenance and support. This version is scheduled to release in the first half of 2027. 2028, next major version. The next major version is slated to be PowerBuilder 2028, which will be our next cycle of introducing major new features with a focus on continuing to build on the 4 key pillars of our roadmap: developer productivity, interoperability, compatibility, and security. Supported product versions. We're 8 years past the first PowerBuilder release by Appeon. While some versions are EOL, there are still multiple actively maintained releases. Please refer to the table to confirm your upgrade path. However, as you can see, versions prior to 2022 R3 have limited time left under standard support. We recommend upgrading to at least 2022 R3, which will help ensure your apps keep running smoothly. Roadmap focus. The 4 key pillars of our roadmap is really about ensuring PowerBuilder continues to be a valuable tool in the enterprise app development toolset for years to come. First, dev productivity. We're streamlining development to increase satisfaction by developers and meet the ever fast-paced speed of projects these days. Fewer repetitive tasks, smarter tooling, and a modern IDE that helps you write better code in less time are just a few areas we are focusing on. Second, security. we're strengthening PowerBuilder application security with code signing and integrity checks, encryption and credential protections, and runtime guards. These are areas we are addressing first, but we will continue to strengthen PowerBuilder with best practices and new security measures. Third, compatibility. We're adding support for the latest operating systems, databases, and hardware, ensuring your applications stay compatible with technology shifts. Fourth, interoperability. We're making integration easier. Open connectors, standards-based APIs, better hooks into third-party services and external systems, and expanding support for popular data or file formats. Dev productivity. Looking ahead to 2025, R2 and R3. These are the IDE features currently on our plan to further enhance developer productivity. IDE theme. We're modernizing the IDE's look and feel. In 2025 R2 and R3, you'll get multiple theme options out of the box, including a dark theme that's easy on the eyes for long coding sessions. Next, the editor. In R2, it will become faster, cleaner, and more productive. First, jump support. Control and click to go straight to variable, function, or class definitions. Second, readability, error and warning markers, format doc or selection, bookmarks, clickable URLs, and custom collapsible regions. Third, editing efficiency, virtual space, box selection, move lines up or down, navigate back and forward to prior insertion points. Finally, AutoScript will support auto-completion for globals, structures, and enums, making coding faster and easier. Looking ahead to R3. In R3, we plan to add core hierarchy and enable AutoScript to support member access and further expand code refactoring. Also, you'll be able to drag a tab out into its own window, giving you more room to edit, as well as enabling multi-monitor workflows. Solution. For the newly introduced solution format, we will further optimize memory usage and make it work better for very large code bases. Initial measurements in our labs suggest a reduction in memory usage of around 30%. We'll also incorporate real-life customer feedback with the new solution format to ensure more seamless DevOps. Source control. Native Git support will enable rebase, making it easier to keep a clean, linear history without dropping to the command line. In R3, we'll focus on customer-driven enhancements, addressing requests from our users to make source control integration even smoother. Deployment. Starting with the next release, runtime language packs will ship with every build alongside English. There will be no longer separate downloads or deployments, so our international customers no longer need to wait months after an English release to benefit from the improvements we are making to the product. There will also be new option for you to add your own language pack with your own language translations, so your app can be fully localized for any region in the world. We will also make PowerServer deployment more robust and flexible. The license section will show more details, including addition and expiration. The model conversion process will automatically detect and handle duplicate C# models to prevent conflicts. The Cloud App Launcher.msi will carry unique product code and product version for each release, making upgrades cleaner. We will provide an uninstall.exe with silent uninstall support. And by default, both the PowerServer app and the Cloud App Launcher will install under the Local App Data folder, which will reduce permission prompts and increase reliability. Compatibility and interoperability. For the 2025 R2 and R3 release, we're expanding compatibility and interoperability for data and file formats, hardware, and internationalization. Data formats. We're improving compatibility for data formats for the data window and URL encoding. Date-to-time precision and parameters. Add support for SQL Server date-to-time 2, up to 7-digit fractional seconds, and enable date-to-time parameter binding in the data window.update function for supported databases. URL encoding. URL encode will represent spaces as %20, aligning with stricter requirements of web servers and APIs to avoid integration issues. File formats. We're improving visual fidelity of images and PDF compliance. Better support for SVG. We'll add SVG image support to deliver clearer icons, sharper scaling on high DPI displays, and more consistent visuals across various displays. In R2, the editor and runtime will support SVG format images, so graphics scale cleanly at any resolution. In R3, we'll ship a built-in SVG system image set you can pick from, and the native PDF will render SVGs natively, keeping exported PDFs just as crisp. PDF compliance, ISO 14289. We plan to align PDF output from PowerBuilder applications with ISO 14289, including PDF UA for accessibility, adding tagged structure, correct reading order, and metadata, so PDFs work better with assistive technologies. Platform and hardware. Long type for large screen sizing. We will add a long type to window-related functions, properties, and events, and switch dimension size types to long. This will enable precise layout on high-resolution and ultra-wide displays. No overflow, no rounding drift, so coordinates, widths, heights, and scroll positions render accurately at any scale. ARM-based Windows and VM runtime support. We plan to add runtime support for ARM processors, enabling deployment of PowerBuilder applications to ARM-based Windows devices running Windows on ARM natively, and also Apple Silicon chipsets running Windows in a virtual machine like Windows on ARM via Parallels and VMware. TS Aware option for Terminal Server. We're introducing a project-level TS Aware option. The setting currently lives in pb.ini and only controls runtime behavior. Set at build time, your EXEs and DLLs will be stamped with or without the PETS Aware flag, ensuring Windows recognizes whether their terminal services are aware as soon as they launch. I18N. Right to left, ribbon bar, menu. We'll introduce right to left rendering for the ribbon bar and menus, so these visual objects can natively support right to left languages, that is, Arabic, Hebrew, with correct mirroring and navigation to be consistent with the rest of PowerBuilder that already supports right to left. Security. 2025 R2 and R3 will advance security across the stack, helping developers release PB applications that are more resilient, securely connected, and compliant with modern cryptographic standards. Foundations, runtime hardening, and core updates will harden your binaries by enabling industry-standard mitigations, ASLR, DeepNX, SAFE, SEH, x86, CFG, and DEH. These flags will reduce common exploit vectors without requiring any app-level code changes. In R2, we'll apply these mitigations to EXEs only and tag the feature as a beta feature. The goal is to validate compatibility across environments and gather feedback before broadening the scope. In R3, we'll extend the same protections to DLLs and also move the feature out of beta. Net result, stronger defense in depth, lower risk, and more reliable deployments, with no changes needed to your application code. We'll remove the .NET 4.8 dependency in relevant components to simplify installs and shrink the attack surface. As always, in every release, third-party components will be upgraded to current, supported versions for better security posture. Secure access, authentication, and connectivity. Next, security and access. We will support Windows authentication in Power Client, Power Server applications for seamless user authentication. For database access, we will enable SQL CA secure connection and use secure connection strings when the Power Server app establishes dynamic connections to the database. And we will support SSH connections to internal or self-hosted Git servers, enabling secure key-based authentication for source control. Advanced encryption, cryptography, and protocols. We will upgrade Crypto Object to support AES-GCM for authenticated encryption, and add RSAPSS signing verification with SHA-256 for modern, standards-compliant signatures. On the protocol side, we will enable full IPv6 support in the HTTP client and other HTTP objects, ensuring first-class connectivity in dual-stack and IPv6-only environments. App features. For 2025 R2 and R3, these app features will be added to help developers deliver better apps to users. UI UX will add dynamic DPI switching during runtime, ensuring optimal UI display without having to restart the app. Building upon the strong adoption of the ribbon view introduced in 2025, we will make common actions easier to find and faster to execute. Quick Access Toolbar item tooltips will also appear in the status bar, following the same display rules. The QAT will support toolbar item space for clearer grouping, and users will fold or unfold the ribbon by double-clicking a category, freeing up workspace instantly. For the web browser control, we'll add cache clearing, an optional password autosave setting, and a DevTools toggle for easier troubleshooting. Control over data windows and objects. We will introduce getDW object, a safe, supported API that returns a data window object by DWO name at runtime, eliminating reliance on hidden or internal calls like getAttribute and making code easier to maintain and review. We will also add per-column padding, top, right, bottom, left, so you can fine-tune layout, improve readability, and achieve consistent spacing without workarounds. System functions. Next, system functions. We will enhance string manipulation to make common transforms faster and cleaner. Round will support round half to even bankers rounding for finance-grade accuracy. And both JSON Generator and JSON Parser will add a clear method so you can reset state instantly and reuse objects without reallocating. Localization. We will enable in-app language switching and Cloud App Launcher language switching. We will also let developers localize runtime messages in their own preferred languages, beyond the provided languages. Together, these changes will help teams deliver a smoother experience for international users and multilingual organizations. Key themes in the next major version. While we always focus on the 4 key pillars of our roadmap, we feel there is quite a bit more work for us to do in enhancing developer productivity. That's why, in the next major version, we're proactively talking to our customers and prioritizing features that will help you develop faster. Some of the things we are considering are source control, deeper Git SVN integration with built-in collaboration, all in the IDE. Editor, an ever cleaner, faster, and more modern editing experience, making everyday coding smoother and more efficient. AutoScript, smarter code completion and refactoring that save time and reduce errors. Search and replace, more powerful search options to help you quickly locate and update code. Debugger, easier troubleshooting with more intuitive debugging capabilities. Performance, ongoing optimization to improve IDE speed, stability, and scalability, with 64-bit IDE support planned for future versions, including 64-bit database driver support in the IDE Painter and 64-bit OCX support in the IDE window and user object designers. Codeless UI modernization. We're modernizing the UI framework in ways that require little to no effort from you to adopt, so your existing apps can be rapidly evolved to today's UI standards. What do you think? If you have any comments or suggestions about what more we should do to enhance developer productivity, please email us at product@appeon.com. Beyond the key developer productivity themes outlined here, all subsequent revisions will continue to safeguard and strengthen security, compatibility, and interoperability. Survey results. Now I would like to share with you results from our annual developer survey. I'd like to share a few of the results that I thought might be of interest to you. Q1. How satisfied are you with your overall experience using PowerBuilder? As you can see, the vast majority of respondents are highly satisfied. But what I think is especially interesting is how satisfied developers are with the initial release of 2025. Usually, we expect lower satisfaction with an initial major release, since obviously it hasn't been through our revision process to refine the features. Q2. What is the version of PowerBuilder you are using for your projects? This chart shows which PowerBuilder versions teams are using today. Most customers are on some long-term support version, which makes sense. Customers value having a supported version and do not want to frequently upgrade. But what I found interesting is, again, how many customers are already on the initial release of PowerBuilder 2025. So based on such high adoption, I encourage all of you to try PB 2025, or at least the R2 coming soon. Q3. What is the main reason preventing you from upgrading to the latest PowerBuilder 2025 version? This chart shows the main reasons users haven't yet upgraded to PowerBuilder 2025. Among those who haven't upgraded, the largest group, 33.8%, cite time, resource, or budget constraints as the main reason, which makes sense since upgrading does require effort. Only 5% reported a blocking technical issue or bug. So again, temper your expectations that an initial release of a product is never perfect. But many customers might be surprised by the quality of our initial releases. So, unless your organization has policy to use long-term support versions, it really might be worth considering to roll out PowerBuilder 2025, or at least the R2 coming soon. Q4. Have you tried or are you aware of the new solution format feature in PowerBuilder? This question asked whether users have tried or are aware of the new solution format feature in PowerBuilder 2025. The solution format brings modern project organization. Importantly, it leverages the ultra-fast compiler, which delivers 2 to 3 times faster build performance compared to the traditional PBL file format. This means faster iteration, quicker testing cycles, and overall greater development efficiency. As more teams move to PowerBuilder 2025, we expect awareness and adoption of solution format to continue accelerating. Q5. Would you like to discuss consulting assistance for your PB projects in the next 12 months? This chart shows how many users are interested in consulting assistance for their PowerBuilder projects over the next 12 months. The majority, 71.3%, indicated that they don't need consulting assistance, which highlights the new features we release and the changes we make to PowerBuilder are generally easy to adopt. Among those who are interested, the top areas are cloud migration and the Power Server projects, 11.7%, followed closely by PowerBuilder version upgrades, 11.5%. For those who do need consulting assistance, please note that we have excellent consulting partners with deep experience in these areas. You can find them in the Consulting Partner Directory on our website, www.appeon.com/consultants. Connect with us. Thanks everyone for listening and for your continued interest in PowerBuilder's future. Please stay connected through community.appeon.com or contact my team at product@appeon.com. Thank you for watching.
Lastly, let's welcome Chris, Director of Developer Relations at Appeon, to showcase some key enhancements and new features in the upcoming PowerBuilder and PowerServer 2025 R2.
Hello, I'm Chris Pollock. I'm the Director of Developer Relations here at Appeon. Welcome to the Elevate 2025 Keynote. My focus today will be on Revision 2 feature highlights. So let's have a look at the session here. For Revision 2, we've got PowerBuilder enhancements. That is navigation, coding, security, source code control for Git, and PowerServer enhancements. Language, which also affects Power Client as well. Security. Silent uninstall, various customers have been asking for. And secure transaction, which we have in the client-server world, can now be done in PowerServer as well. So that covers the key areas we're delivering in Revision 2. Now let's dive into some of these enhancements in more detail, starting with usability improvements in the IDE. IDE themes. Yes, themes in the IDE, and they can be customized. A lot of people have been asking that for a few years, so here you go. AutoScript enhancements, error and warning markers. Tabs to insert codes. Autocomplete now includes global functions, variables, structures, and numerated data types that can be pasted in. And we have a new method called getDataWindowObject. Similar to getChild, where you get a pointer to a child data window, you can now use this method to get a pointer to columns, computer fields, or controls. And of course, once you have a pointer to that object, you can actually manipulate it even further. Or just have a look at basically what it's currently described as far as current operating properties. And we have dynamic DPI support has been enhanced to include SVG, Scalable Vector Graphics. And of course, that's going to make images remain crisp across different resolutions and different monitors. So let's have a look at the new IDE themes. So launching PowerBuilder 2025 revision 2, you can see here I'm on an early build, 6213. However, once you get down that particular build, revision number 2, we should be able to go to Tools, System Options, and you can see here there's a new thing here at the bottom on the General tab of using IDE themes. We're going to basically go here just for contrast, the Design Dark probably would be the most contrast to show you. And you hit OK and you'll get a restart at that point. So we'll go ahead and restart. So now you can see when the IDE restarts, we're now in a dark black mode. So let's have a look, for example, if we were to open up a data window. So you can see here, of course, the property sheet has changed at this point. If we were to open up a user object, for example, a toolbar here, this is a visual user object. You can see here that we do have an event list. We can have a look at the constructor here, and if we look at some code, you can see here that everything is in the script pane is also in that particular theme. And colorization, of course, will be affected based on the theme that you choose. If we were to open up a window, for example, you can see here that for the documentation, I love this one. It looks like the old green screen 3270 mainframe here in the documentation script. But if we go to something drag and drop, for example, and we have a look then at the rest of the script, you can see here, of course, a nice color contrast between the dark background of that particular theme. So for both visual objects and non-visual objects, the script pane changes, the properties changes for visual objects, and it actually changes the color here based on the mouse moving over top as well. So you can see here that everything looks nice. The toolbar up top has been changed here to go in that particular theme as well. So this is the look and feel. I only have 2 themes that I can choose from this early alpha pre-release. So hopefully there'll be some more by the time we get to GA.
And just so you know, even with these themes, the syntax coloring in the editor is still fully customizable. So if you want to adjust your script colors, just select the design, go to Options, and click the Coloring tab. You can easily tweak all of the syntax colors there, exactly the way you like them.
So that's a quick look at the new IDE themes. So navigation enhancements.
First, in revision 2, the jump feature has been significantly enhanced to cover more scenarios. In addition to jumping to objects, it can now directly jump to functions, methods, variables, and class names. We also have a new jump menu and toolbar.
The jump command has been added to the IDE menu. A shortcut key, Control F12, now allows you to jump to wherever you are hovering the mouse over top of that particular function or object. Control click also allows you to jump to a specific definition. And cursor-based recognition. IDE will automatically identify symbols underneath the mouse cursor. I like this one. The PowerBuilder script editor enhancements. Improved search. New bookmark feature. A new custom collapsible code blocks. And these are ones that you define yourself. Improved error and warning markers. A new rectangular selection, so you can select a block of code, which is a little bit different from what you've been used to. I'll show you. And a new virtual space. So you can actually create virtual space along each line of code. And you can move lines now via the keyboard once you select a block of lines, where of course we could drag and drop before. Now we can use the keyboard. So let's have a look at all the new features in the script editor. There's a lot here that we can sink our teeth into.
So looking at the IDE, on the top left, you'll notice navigation arrows. This works a lot like a web browser. You can jump back and forward through your cursor history based on where your caret has been in the code. It's all brand new, and it makes navigating large scripts much faster and smoother. If we have a look, for example, at global functions that you can see here, if I was to type in a global function like f whatever, you can see here that it actually pops up from the list here that you see here in the system tree on the left-hand side. So that's all new here. You can bring in external resources here and other libraries just by referencing them. Notice that if I go down here to the open command, where of course you used to use the right-hand mouse button in earlier versions of PowerBuilder and jump to that particular object, you can now do it here through the actual main menu. And the key is you can actually do it with a function key, Control F12. So if I put the cursor here and do a Control F12, it automatically opens that particular referenced object at this point. So that's the new jump behavior for objects using Control plus F12. And just to call out one more change in revision 2, jump now works beyond objects. You can jump to functions, methods, variables, and class names as well. So I put the cursor on a function name and hold Control and click. It takes me straight to the definition. If you prefer the keyboard, Control plus F12 does the exact same thing. 2 quick ways to move through your code, whichever works best for you. So let's look at a new feature called Bookmark. So for example, if I use now here the right-hand mouse button, we actually have a bookmark here on the left-hand side, and I can bookmark wherever I want to go. Notice that the bookmark is also available now on the toolbar, so you can move forward or backward through the bookmarks. So you can see here, if I'm actually at the top here, and I can go to the next bookmark, next, or previous bookmark. If I use the right-hand mouse button, I can clear the bookmark, or I can actually use the toolbar here to actually clear all the bookmarks. So that's a brand new feature here. And we have collapsible code blocks. Well, of course, we have that before in, for example, the if statement or a case statement. But now we can actually type in a £, and notice here that we have a new one here called region. So if I start that and I go down, say, for example, to here, and I was to type in pound and then end region, paste that in, you can see now that we have a collapsible code block. And again, with the mouse hovering improvements, when that custom block is collapsed, I can just move the mouse over top and see that actual script segment. And it actually ends up at the end of the mouse tail. So very, very useful here at this point for feedback as to what's going on in both automatic and customized collapsible code block. If I go here, for example, and do a global function, so notice here I pasted a global function, and again, you can move the mouse over top and see the actual arguments to that function. But notice here, if you hover over the method, and it automatically says this will never compile. So you don't have to do a Control L or hit the compile button on the toolbar. You just have to move the mouse over top of that method, whether it be a global method or an object method, and it'll tell you right there, this will never compile. So you're getting that automatic feedback right away on the mouse hover. So let's have a look here at the new rectangular selection capability. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go here to this particular area, and I'm going to move the equal sign so that they're all nicely aligned up. And I'm going to hit the Alt button. So notice here I now have a region selected at this point. And notice now I can actually then move the region with drag and drop or with the keyboard, for example. So that's a handy way to line things up and then just shift them left or right using this new region feature, which is the Alt drag drop. We now also have virtual space. So notice here that normally when you click in previous versions of PowerBuilder at the end of a line, the cursor stops there, and in order to get over, I've got a tab or space. So I can go to the design menu here and go to options, go to script, and here's a new one, enable virtual space. So if I do that, notice that I can put the cursor anywhere that I want in this virtual space at the end of the line. There's no need to actually do tabs or spacebar anymore to get over there. So let's go and select these lines, for example. So now we have the line selected, I'm going to hold the Alt key down and I can actually use the keyboard.
We also have improved outlining. So for example, if I actually move the cursor to that end of a particular line, notice that it automatically highlights the brackets for me. If I use the right-hand mouse button, I can actually turn on or off the amount of outlining that's required that when you hover the mouse at the end of the line or over a particular set of arguments. And lastly, for example, if I want to set breakpoints, notice here that the breakpoint icon is much more visible. And I can bookmark that with the right-hand mouse button as well. So I can have both sitting here, a bookmark and a debugger breakpoint. So PowerBuilder security enhancements. The cryptor object. Support for AAD, additional authenticated data, and also multiple signature standards. So that gives you stronger security and better interoperability between external data sources.
For executables, you can now configure security flags directly on the exe files. This is a new capability added in R2, and we will extend the same support to DLL files in R3. If you look in the Project Painter under the Security tab, you'll see a new group called Advanced Executable Security. Here you can enable data execution prevention, address space layout randomization, control flow guard, and safe structured exception handling. These options help harden your generated exe files against memory-based attacks and modern exploit techniques. Here's a tip. If you go to github/netspi/PE security, you can download the PE security utility to inspect any executable and see which of these security flags are actually set. It's a quick way to verify what protections are applied to your exe and understand what security standards it meets.
The web browser. It now has a development tools property. And when you turn this on, very much like you would find in other web browsers, like Edge, Firefox, for example, you can actually bring up developer tools. And we have a new password autosave. If that's set to true, then the user will be prompted if they want to save passwords when they log into a specific website. And another important one, clear browsing data method. It's the ability to clear browsing data programmatically. And there's 16 options for that function. So you can actually clear different chunks or all of it, depending on your program needs. So the Git enhancements, rebase. So just a tip, when you install, for example, Git, make sure that you install a newer version so you have these options available to you on the Git server. Then developers can choose to reapply their local commits on top of an updated remote branch. Either the current branch for rebasing or upstream, the branch you are aligning to your work with. You can also use fetch as well. So notice here that when you actually use the menu here on File pull down and you get source code control, you have a new one called rebase. And you also have the ability here right above that to do a git fetch. Also, there's a tip at the bottom here that says that that particular branch will display now in the PowerBuilder IDE status bar at the bottom. Notice that fetch helps keep your local repository up to date with remote changes without performing a merge. So if you use a fetch, then you can see what changes on the remote branch without altering your local work. So this is new.
So let's have a look at PowerServer 2025 R2. First, the PowerServer language support. Before we get into it specifically, it's important to understand that there are two parts to localization for PowerServer, PowerClient, server applications. One part is the PowerBuilder runtime, which handles all application-level system messages. The other part is the Cloud Launcher, which is what the user sees when the application starts. We'll get to the launcher shortly, but first let's focus on the PowerBuilder runtime because this is a significant improvement. Previously, localized resources were embedded in runtime DLL files, which made deployment and customization difficult. Now, these resources are separated into independent language files, enabling runtime language switching without recompiling the runtime. Each supported language is stored in its own LNG file, for example, English.lng or French.lng. PowerBuilder 2025 R2 provides 11 languages out of the box, and if you need to support an additional language, you can use the provided custom.lng file, which initially contains the same content as the English version and can be fully modified for your own translations. For client-server applications, the new Runtime Packager lets you select which language files to include and deploy them via MSI installer or file copy. For PowerServer and PowerClient projects, all language files are automatically uploaded to the web server together with the runtime files, so they're ready to use out of the box. So for any type of application, you can dynamically choose which language to use at runtime using the new set language function. So that covers the new runtime language support, which handles the localization of all system messages inside your application. Now let's look at the second part, the Cloud App Launcher. Now for the Cloud App Launcher. So when you create a new launcher profile, you can actually specify in the middle tab page, you can see your advanced options, and you'll have a list of languages now at the bottom. And you select the language of the application user. Or you can say use the current Windows operating system language that you see that option at the bottom. Or if this particular Cloud App Launcher could be used by different users with different language requirements, allow the user to select the language is the checkbox that you see here. For runtime deployment, so when you actually open up the project and you want to map the Cloud App Launcher that you want that application to use, in this example, for example, I've already created a French version of the Cloud App Launcher that you see here under the open folder. And then I changed the title and the heading to the language of that particular mapping that I'm generating, and I can change the images to follow suit as well. So between the new runtime language files and the enhanced Cloud App Launcher options, your users now get a much more complete and consistent localization experience. We now have support for Windows authentication. So in PowerServer here, when you actually create a PowerServer project, notice that we have under the Security tab the ability here to say Windows Authentication Anonymous, Integrated, or User Password. Anonymous, of course, there's no credentials that are being checked, and this would be great for the PowerBuilder developer, and you'll be able to basically do your unit testing very quickly. Then you can change it to integrated when you're getting ready to go from development to quality assurance, user acceptance testing, system integration, etc. on your way to production. Then you can go and use the Windows login. If the login fails, when the user enters a login ID, then the login dialog will appear and they can enter a different user ID and possibly a password. And if that works, then you can see here that the login window is going to allow you to remember that particular choice. We have secure transaction connection as well. So in earlier versions of PowerBuilder, you can use the set secure connection string in client server mode, for example, for this encrypted connection string to be used to connect from the client application over to the database management system. Now, if you use that in PowerServer, it will actually use that in the middle tier. So now PowerServer will use that encrypted string in order to connect to the database management of your choice. And we also have some new enhanced functions. Cloud App Get and Cloud App Set. Set, of course, will allow you to override the IDE settings that you see above, and you can use the Get to establish and maybe log what are the current settings being used for the authentication mode in progress. So let's have a look at PowerServer 2025 R2 for those items that I just mentioned. So returning to the 2025 R2 IDE, first of all, before we go to PowerServer, let's have a look at new. And under Tools, I just wanted to point out that the Runtime Packager now in older versions of Appeon PowerBuilder, you'd have to run it from the Start menu. Now you can actually run it from the IDE. Now, of course, in 2025 R2, you see the ability here to choose the language or languages. So, for example, I could actually select French and Italian, for example, as well as English. So as many languages that you need, it'll create the MSI, and you can run that on the deployment machines. If we have a look at a project, in this example here for the demo application, and I go to deploy, we can actually now in the Advanced tab, under Configuration,
Notice that we would find that under the tools here to manipulate the Cloud App Launcher, it's no longer there. From the project, we would hit Configuration, New, and at this point we would go to the Advanced options, and here you go. Here's the language selection for the Cloud App Launcher. And that's, for example, if I was building the French one, that's probably where I would actually put a suffix. And I use that -F for French, -S for Spanish, -I, for example, for Italian. And so basically you can configure it for that particular language. If you want the user to be able to select more than one at runtime, for example, I have a lot of applications that are deployed in both English and French. I may want to select either allow the user to language choice to be driven by the operating system. You see this here, use Windows language. Or I can use the allow user to change the language so they can choose the language of the Cloud App Launcher that, of course, that they basically interact with.
So when I launch the Cloud App Launcher, you can see the system UI is now localized. All the menus, buttons, and messages are displayed in French. And the launcher also lets users choose the language they prefer. So you're giving your end users a fully localized experience, and it makes deployment across different regions a lot smoother and more professional.
So I hope you enjoyed this quick preview of PowerBuilder and PowerServer revision number 2. And you've enjoyed a lot of the tips that I've shown you. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the Elevate 2025 conference. Thanks for watching.
This concludes the Elevate 2025 keynote presentations. Now it's your chance to engage with us. After a 15-minute break, you can join the roadmap discussion session in a Zoom session. This is a great opportunity for you to communicate directly with Appeon staff, ask questions, and better understand Appeon's plans for PowerBuilder and PowerServer. We look forward to talking with you.